Hello and welcome to Psychobabble. Tonight, instead of doing a movie review of one film, this is a top 5 list. It's the top 5 horror movie remakes, my personal top 5 list. Why only 5? Because I could probably come up with 20, 25 remakes that I really like, some of which, not just for remakes, but just across the board. Some of my favorite movies happen to be remakes. But I narrowed it down to 5 for the sake of a short video. And not only that, but to make it more challenging for me to narrow it down. Some didn't make the list. Like, I like the remake of Hills Have Eyes, the remake of Dawn of the Dead, the remake of The Ring, actually, because out of all the Japanese horror movies that American remade, I think they did the best job with The Ring. And anytime you can take a PG-13 movie and make it that scary, that creepy, I think it was just a really well-done movie, but not on the list. 2013, the remake of Evil Dead, loved the movie, loved the character Mia, loved it. Didn't make the list. That's what makes it fun when you narrow the list down to 5, because you have to make some tough choices. So let's get started. The top 5 horror movie remakes. To start things off, coming in at number 5, we have 1992. Francis Ford Coppola, uncle of Nicolas Cage. Great director. He chose to tackle an untouchable character in Universal Horror, Dracula. 1992, Bram Stoker's Dracula. My opinion, best vampire movie ever made. I'm not a big fan of vampire films, but this movie was just super. So let's move on, and I'll show you a little clip of something from Bram Stoker's Dracula. If you haven't seen it, watch this.
Ja, Dracula.
There's a sinister, darker side to him I find irresistible. I have never met any man with such a passion for life. He is unlike any man. What are you?
Vampires do exist. This one we fight, this one we face. Can take on many forms. He is both young and old. He can appear as mist, as vapor, as the fog. And he can vanish at will.
Oh, my love.
The power of his evil desire has no end.
You've got to go to him, and you've got to love him.
She is a willing recruit and devoted disciple. She is the devil's concubine! Devil!
Join me in eternal life.
Your salvation is his destruction.
I want to be what you are. I want to see what you see. I want to love what you love. Take me away from all this death.
At number 4, we have 1978. I was 8 years old. A remake of a 1955 or 56 movie. In 1978, it was remade with stars like a very young Jeff Goldblum and a young Donald Sutherland. And Leonard Nimoy was even in it. And it was The Invasion of the Body Snatchers. An extremely creepy movie, and it stands on its own as if it was the original, and it is actually, in fact, a remake.
Jack, wake up! Its eyes. Oh, Jack, it opened its eyes.
At number 3, some of you are going to hear my choice and think, How is it only number 3 on my list as much as I love this director? Until you, of course, hear number 1. And then you'll remember me talking about that movie day in, day out, and basing so much in The Haunt on that movie. But at number 3, my favorite director in the horror genre, one of my favorite directors of all, in 2007 remade a horror classic from 1978. He remade it in 2007.
Inside every one of us, there exists a dark side. Most people rise above it, but some are consumed by it.
Michael?
Until there is nothing left but pure evil.
Behind these eyes, one finds only darkness. These are the eyes of a psychopath.
This August, Rob Zombie unleashes an extreme vision of terror and reinvents a legend. Halloween.
The movie was not filmed in the same light as a horror movie, especially a slasher flick. Instead, it was filmed like it was a very dramatic film. At number 2, I could not keep this movie any further down the list. It was almost number 1. I was 12 years old. None of my friends' parents would let them go see this movie. So I had to go with my mom. Because I needed somebody, anyway, to buy the ticket. I was only 12. 1982, The Thing. It'll scare the shit out of you.
I'm gonna hide this tape when I'm finished. If none of us make it, at least there'll be some kind of record. The storm's been hitting us hard now for 48 hours. We still have nothing to go on.
What were they doing flying that low? Shooting at a dog. At us.
Stir crazy. Cabin fever, who knows?
Get a hold of somebody. Get a hold of anybody. We gotta report this mess.
I doubt if anybody's talked to anybody on this entire continent, and you want me to reach somebody.
Looks like something buried under the ice.
We gotta just burn these things.
Can't burn the find of the century. That's going to win somebody the Nobel Prize.
Thousands of years ago it crashes and this thing gets thrown out or crawls out and it ends up freezing in the ice.
This is pure nonsense. Doesn't prove a thing.
Creed, there is still cellular activity in these burned remains. They're not dead yet.
You see, what we're talking about here is an organism that imitates other life forms, and it imitates them perfectly.
Every little piece is an individual animal with a built-in desire to protect its own life.
So how do we know who's human? If I was an imitation, a perfect imitation, how would you know if it was really me?
Somebody in this camp ain't what he appears to be. Right now, that may be one or two of us. By spring, it could be all of us. If it takes us over, then it has no more enemies. Nobody left to kill it. And then it's won. There's a storm hitting us in 6 hours. We're gonna find out who's who. Nobody trusts anybody now.
Bennings was right there, Mac. I swear to God it had a hold of him.
There was one of those things out there trying to imitate him, Gary.
You gonna let him give the orders? I mean, he could be one of those things.
We're gonna find out who's the thing.
Who's number 1? Who knocked The Thing and Rob Zombie's Halloween out of the number 1 spot? Who could be my number 1? Oh boy, here we are at number 1. The year was 2003. I did not expect much when I first heard that they were remaking this film from 1973. Especially when I heard the star that nobody knew, but a girl that starred in a TV show called Seventh Heaven was going to be in it. I didn't put this violent movie and a girl from Seventh Heaven together. I just didn't. I didn't know how it was going to work until I saw the trailer. Still to this day, one of the best trailers in horror movie cinematic history was for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, starring Jessica Biel and directed by first-time director Marcus Nispel, producer Michael Bay, and they made a perfect film.
Hey, are you okay? Gotta get away. From who? Let's find a hospital, okay? Hello? Is anybody home? What the hell is that?
I think we should just get out of here. Aaron, what's going on?
Where's the gun? He's killing him!
Who's killing who?
I need you to hold that light really steady. Run! Keep going! Keep going! Stop!
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Rated R. Starts Friday, October 17th.
And that is my #1 remake in a top 5 list of top 5 horror movie remakes. 2003, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. At 5, we had Bram Stoker's Dracula in 1992. At 4, we had 1978's remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. At 3, we had 2007, Rob Zombie's remake of Halloween. At number 2, we had 1982's remake, John Carpenter's film, The Thing. And then at number 1, of course, the 2003 remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There you have it. Feel free to comment below, because what do I know? This is all just a bunch of psychobabble.